Welcome to Module 3, where we're going to talk about, well, we're not just going to talk about, we're going to take the business transactions that you did in the last module, and we are going to take them through the entire accounting system. We're going to start with journal entries, then we're going to do T accounts, a trial balance, and finally financial statements. Okay, so this is really like the crux of accounting. When we get done with this module, you're going to be accountants. Okay, so we're going to take each of those business transactions. Remember, we figured out which accounts increased and decreased, and then we figured out how do we increase and decrease our accounts with debits and credits. We're going to use that information to create journal entries. So each transaction will get a journal entry. So we had 12 transactions last time, and we'll end up with 12 journal entries. And the journal entries is really the first step in the accounting process. But remember, our goal is to provide usable information to external users. And if we just handed someone a big book filled with all of our journal entries, that wouldn't be very useful to anyone. If they said, hey, I just want to know what your cash balance is, we could say like, hey, look through all these journal entries, figure it out yourself. It wouldn't be very useful, and they would probably not be very happy with us. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to take our journal entries and we're going to turn them into T accounts. And this is basically going to isolate each of these accounts so we'll know what the balance is for cash and for accounts receivable and inventory and stock and all of our different accounts. And we'll be able to isolate what the balance is. Okay, so then if someone says, hey, we want to know your cash balance, we can hand them our T accounts. But again, now if they say, well, I also want to know accounts receivable, now we got to flip over to the other page. This is all pretty simple when we only have 12 transactions, but imagine we have 10,000 transactions in a month. And if you look at your big companies like IBM or Facebook, they probably have 100,000 transactions in a month. So each of those T accounts is going to be maybe 100 pages long. So again, for our external users' perspective, that's not very useful if I just hand them all of my T accounts. So the next thing I'm going to do, and this is like a funnel, right? So my journal entries, it's a big book. My T accounts, maybe a little smaller. Then I'm going to get to my trial balance. And my trial balance is going to list just the accounts and their ending balance. So now this makes it a lot easier. I can say there's cash, there's accounts receivable, there's inventory. And that gets me pretty close to where I want to go as far as having usable information to give to my external users. But again, if I am Facebook, Facebook probably has 10,000 accounts, maybe 5,000 accounts. So that trial balance is going to be pages and pages and pages long. Maybe they have, well, at Oracle we had 400 cash accounts because we had more than 400 cash accounts. But anyway, you can see it's kind of hard to say, well, what's the balance of cash? Well, you have to add up these 400 accounts. These are different accounts in different countries. Some are for paying payroll, some are for paying vendors, different stuff. Okay. So the final step is to take the trial balance and put it into financial statements. This is literally going to fit on 3 or 4 pages. We'll have some notes that go with it. We're not going to do the notes right now. That'll be later. But basically, now I can pick up one page and I can say, okay, I can see what Facebook has in their assets and liabilities and equity. And I can pick up another financial statement, an income statement, and say, I can see how much revenue they earned and what their expenses were. So once we get down the funnel, starting with journal entries, we'll go to T accounts. Our T accounts will feed into our trial balance. Our trial balance will feed into our financial statements. And once we get to the financial statements, now we have something usable we can give to our external users. And that's really going to be the goal of us. We started with the business transaction. We're going to take it to the journal entry, then the T account, then the trial balance, and finally we will end up with financial statements that we can give to an external user. All right, so let's jump in and get started with accounting.